Joining us from MLB Network is one of my good buddies from way back in the day when I was talking baseball a heck of a lot more by being with ESPN. And MLB Network is airing live coverage before and after every LCS game. Plus, MLB Network is exclusively airing the ALCS in Spanish. Our buddy Al Leiter back here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How you doing, Al?
Hello, Rich. Yeah, did we ever do like any Baseball Tonight stuff?
I think we did. Definitely. There's no question about it.
Some of that. What the heck, man? Where is the time gone?
The time has flown, sir.
I'm losing my hair. You've lost your hair.
That is correct. Those are all accurate statements. They're accurate statements.
I always say I have a 5 head, but I think it's a little further than that. Oh, well. It's all good.
Hey, we just chatted with Bo Jackson. You got any stories about him, facing him, Al?
I don't remember. I remember with the Yankees in Kansas City, but I don't. It doesn't. Nothing stood out. I was running through my Billy Martin days. That was one of my last starts. Actually, Dallas Green was my manager, and I came back after that start, and they traded me. But no, I wish I did. Other than all the stories that I've seen and other people telling me how amazing Bo was.
You're trying to forget.
That must have been cool.
You're trying to forget your Billy Martin years. Is that what you're saying? That was your nice way of saying.
No, but I forgot. The other day I was at the network and something came up about managers and gut and how old school managers used to go like to the horse track before the game, and just like the whole instinctive gut thing. They're in the dugout and do I keep Tyon in and not? Like there was such a feel, and Billy was a baseball savant genius. He really was. And I just didn't realize that I'm being a young kid and having Billy Martin as my first manager full year in '88. But yeah, kind of miss those days of allowing a manager to know his roster, know what's going on at the time, the pulse, et cetera, and make decisions that way. And it's all prescribed now. It's a little bit of a bummer.
I agree with you. Last night I'm sitting there with my 11-year-old watching the game. We've been watching Yankee games all year long together, just sitting there hip to hip. Tyon is barely over 60 pitches, but it's the third time through the order, and with one out, guy reaches base, and that's it. End of game. Over.
But you played in it. By there with your son, you're saying, oh, boy, son, third time around, the OPS goes up to 850.
That's what they said on the broadcast. And he looks at me and he says, do you agree with this, Dad? And I said, absolutely not. I do not. I do not agree with this. But you heard it on the broadcast last night. I think Brian Anderson or Ron Darling said the batting average goes up to 300 on the third time through the order. Your OPS is through the roof.
But who was it against? Here, I could have a high batting average against and a high OPS and slug if you don't allow me to fight through that. Therefore, the body of work of third time through the order, even through a full season of a healthy season of 30 starts, I might only have been given a chance to face 10 guys, 12 guys, 14 guys. So they're 3 for 12 or 4 for 12. Like right. It looks bad. Maybe one guy had a double and had scored 2 runs. I don't know. I think there's an instinctive gut. And I think last night was a snapshot. And Tyon had a good year. He was one of their guys, 14-5 in ERA in the high 3s. I think it is the safe move, right? It's a 1-1 game. You're in the 5th. It's getting a little squirrely. I haven't bared down enough on the season to find out. Clark Schmidt ended up getting the big double play ball there,
yes.
And then having him go out the next inning, but. I think you're looking at even the big payroll clubs that there's really kind of 3 guys, if you will, that a manager feels very comfortable based on the success of a back-end bullpen. But when even the big dogs with big payrolls, it gets dicey, even though they have 8 guys sitting in the bullpen. And I don't know whether that's usage or just high leverage, but to go to Clark Schmidt, I don't know. Do you want Clark Schmidt in there to get out of Tyon's mess? To maybe Tyon can go 6 innings, and now it's still 1-1? Do I bring in Loaizaga and treat it like I'm up a run? So then you end up using Trevino, and then Montas hadn't pitched in like a month, and it's still only the game was still obviously in hand. It was 3-1 at the time. I don't know.
No, and I guess it doesn't matter if the offense is going to strike out 17 times, and it is just a frustrating watch. It's just a frustrating watch in this day and age. Like, the Yankees are the personification of the three outcomes: walk, strikeout, home run. And they somehow got past the Guardians, who were the antithesis of that. But the Astros appear to be the perfect blend of young, veteran, and contact hitters, and also home run hitters, and strong-armed relievers, bulldog starters who are going to the Hall of Fame. Like, they seem to be, and if Presley can throw strikes like he did last night out of the pen, I don't know how you beat the Astros. I don't know how you beat them,
Yeah.
right now.
Well, the snapshot of what you just described was perfect. 17 strikeout Yankees, 2 strikeouts by the Astros. If prior to that game 2 in Houston, go back to New York, you said Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, Bregman, and Tucker go 0-for.
Right.
Would you have taken your chances on that one? I mean,
oh yeah, it's certainly getting the lead first. Bader goes yard first. They draw first blood too. I'd have signed for that. Right.
And you got Chase McCormick. This is where you start digging into, like, truly the marathon and the depth of rosters. And it's no longer the big league roster. It's 100% how you utilized your 40-man. But you have Chas McCormick, who went to the baseball powerhouse of Millerville College in Millerville, Pennsylvania. And I don't mean any disrespect to that at all. I promise you when I say that. But that is a very, very high praise to an organization that develops players. I mean, let's. Hey, did they not realize what they had in Jeremy Pena, their shortstop?
Unreal.
I mean, what a stud this guy is. You don't overpay on Correa because you got a guy like Jeremy Pena behind him. I mean, he's going to be a legit star, this kid.
Well, he already is.
And so on. Yeah.
He already is. So that's what I'm saying. It's just I'll even throw it open to the Phillies and the Padres. And again, I know the Yankees can hit home runs and maybe put something together over the next, if they do play 6 more games like they did in the first 80 this year. I don't know. I don't see it, quite frankly. So I just throw it open to you. Who is best equipped to beat the Astros out of the other teams that are still left in this tournament, Al Leiter?
Wow. So, I mean, you got the 1-2 seed in the American League, as we all thought would have played out that way. Mm-hmm. I know the Yankees had to go 5 against the Indians. You have seed 5 and 6, right? The 5th and 6th seed in the Phillies and the Padres. Nobody predicted this. Nobody. Maybe outside of Phillies, Philadelphia and San Diego. But right. The Padres, for them to go through the Mets and then the Dodgers pretty handedly, really. And then the Phillies as well, getting through the Braves after the Cardinals. I like the Philly bullpen, but what Hader is doing right now, the last 8 batters he's faced, he's back to the Milwaukee Brewer, Josh Hader, that's just so devastating. He struck out the last 8 guys he's faced. I mean, it's like Bugs Bunny stuff. So between what Hader, if you extend him to the occasional 2 innings, and I like the right-hander Robert Suarez in front of him, as well as Nick Martinez. I think there's guys that Baumel can use. And then, of course, you have Darvish and Snell up front. I think Musgrove, you got to give him the edge tonight over Ranger Suarez of the Phillies. But with that said, I don't know, man. I think Philadelphia's going to be rocking crazy. Mm-hmm. And I also like what's behind their guys. I mean, you got Alvarado when he's on. I mean, the guy, he's also a 102 guy. Sir Anthony Dominguez is another. So I think they're evenly matched. I really do. We'll see what happens in this game 3, but I think probably my gut tells me, because you haven't really seen all cylinders of San Diego with their top of the lineup, certainly with Soto and Bell. I think there's more there. So probably the Padres might match up better with. Well, we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. I know. Look, man. I like I said, Yanks can win tonight, and then all of a sudden things turn around and they go to the Bronx, and we'll see what happens. Could be a total, up in the air. But the Yankees have just got to make contact, and it just seems they don't care. Like they don't that it's just swing, and if you connect, great. And Judge has not been that way all season long. I know that the Guardians got him to strike out quite a bit, but he's been the perfect Yankee. I mean, for that, power and contact. Sure, he strikes out a lot, but it just seems nobody else just can make consistent enough contact, and you're just not going to win. You're not going to win baseball games. It's just that simple. If you can't hit,
I mean, it becomes streaky.
Like
so what you're describing is really, really excellent with where the game has gone.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what happens with the shift and the clock and all this other stuff.
Right.
Maybe we get guys that'll actually think more about putting the ball in play. When there's a runner at third base and less than 2 outs, I don't care if you dribble a little nubber to first base. That's your intention, not to give an A swing to get velo off the bat and a certain launch angle to hit it really far. I think we've lost that with the 3-run homer. It turns a game around. You can go 1 for 4, but in your last at bat, you hit a 2-run jack. You strike out 3 times, and you had a good night. I don't see it as a good night. I like what the Indians are all about. The Astros, as you just alluded to, they're a good balance of both, of power and also put the ball in play.
Yeah, that was my question for the last one for you, Al, is how you think it will, in fact, change the pitch clock, moving things along, and the shift, which I've despised it. I really have despised it. And I know that, the purists or folks who, like my buddy KO is talking about, the shift's been around since, Grover Cleveland, the actual, not the pitcher, but the president, that's how long it's been around. I have had enough of watching guys who all can throw 100, and their off-speed pitches are now sometimes even approaching 100, right? And so the game's different in that regard. And so you need in the same way that the NFL looked and saw that they needed more offense and backed the defense off of the line of scrimmage 5 yards, can't hit them within 5 yards, change the rules, open the game up. I hope that's what happens with baseball. And I hope that the Yankees do see something like the Guardians and say, look what happens. You could find the Bermuda Triangle right behind the third baseman, if you make contact, as opposed to just going back to the dugout with a 17th strikeout,
Rich, I hope you're right, but I'm going to tap the brakes on this. For the longest time, I used to argue with guys when I was doing games on the Yes Network.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, there's a big hole in the left side. Why don't you just bunt 57 times in a row? I mean, Good Morning America and the Today Show and everybody would be talking about you, about this shift of a right side, and you bunted past the great Joe DiMaggio 57 times. Like, I don't get it. I mean, you have this opportunity, but the reason why is that it's sold at the minor leagues. In order to get to the big leagues, you have to show your A swing, and you have to have high percentage of barrels. They do percentage of barrel balls, and then velo off the bat. So if you have velocity off the bat, a high average number, you hit it at a certain angle, you're going to hit it a certain distance, and that's where. I'll talk to minor leaguers. They're like, no, I had a pretty good game. I'm like, yeah, but you 0 for 4. You struck out twice. Yeah, but two of my outs were 108 miles an hour and 106 miles an hour. Like, yeah, but you were 0 for 4, and there was an incident in the 4th inning. It was second and third, and nobody out. And yeah, you hit a hard line drive to the shortstop. But why didn't you hit a little grounder to the right side? Like, it's a mindset, and I hope it gets that way, because there's not one rule change that's ever benefited the pitcher, ever, back to 68.
So were there any analytics when you played with Martin? I'm being honest, Billy Martin, Jim Leland, anybody that you met? Like, were there any sort of conversations had? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't call it analytics. We called it information. We called it statistics that applied to Scouter Report.
Mm-hmm.
So, now we've taken it to this sophisticated kind of, Ivy League aspect of analytics. But, yeah, no, Rich, I remember when I was with the Marlins, it was after I left the Blue Jays, before I got to the Mets,
mm-hmm.
I had a guy that used to furnish me certain statistics leading up to certain scout reports. We had inside edge. We looked at a lot of hot and cold zones. I knew batting average against on certain pitches, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that 100% was going on. And as well as if you go back to the early 90s, when Dick Michaels was, taking the reins with Buck Showalter on the start of that run, like, he was all in on that of trying to find low-valued players. That also the Moneyball, idea of on-base percentage was important. as well as slug. Like those were conversations that guys, looked at.
Well, Al,
you're going to get more stolen bases too, Rich. That's going to be.
I'm with you. The bases are going to be bigger. Hopefully that literally does lead to it. I look forward to seeing it. I don't know about automated umpires and stuff like that. That one I'm not too. I need to be sold on that. But the rest of the changes, I kind of dig. Hey, look, man. I know. You pulled back on a lot of your media to go hang out with your fam. How has it been hanging out watching your kid throw, Al?
Great. So in a nutshell, right out of Vandy, the Rangers had him, take the summer off in the College World Series.
Mm-hmm.
He was back at school, accumulating his college credit to eventually get his degree, which I thank the Rangers for allowing him to do that. He started in Double-A, and what Jack learned was 95 to 98 miles an hour with not setting guys up and pitching and all the stuff that we talk about a lot, is you got to do it. And, he's facing guys in Double-A in the Texas League that made it to the big leagues this year. So I think he had a rude awakening with being challenged with something that he was always, basically really did a good job. But it was an excellent year as far as for him to know what to expect. So, and it was fun. Yeah, it's fun for me as a dad. I mean, you're a dad, to be with your kid and watch them compete, and
I love it. Enjoy it, Al. You're the best, brother. Let's do this. Let's do this more. Okay.
Yeah, I hear you. I always like talking to you, Rich.
Right back at you, Al Leiter. You be well. That's Al Leiter. Check him out on the MLB Network when he's appearing on it. Just makes you smarter. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.